Hello everyone, my name is Vanessa and I am back to continue reading in chapter 5 of the book Number Games 9/11 to Coronavirus. My name is Vanessa. The name of my channel is called Gnostic Knowledge, and what I am doing on this channel is sharing the knowledge of gematria via two books. This is the second book, the latest book written by Zachary K. Hubbard. His first book is called Letters and Numbers, which I've completed the reading of on this channel. And you can get both of these books by visiting Zachary K. Hubbard's YouTube channels and his blog page. So when you visit his YouTube channels, Gematria Effect News or Gematria Effect Sports, you can obtain his book Letters and Numbers. In the description of each of the videos that he produces, he leaves a link for you to purchase the book Letters and Numbers, and it only costs $5. The best $5 you'll ever spend, because the information contained in his books, you won't get it anywhere else. This particular book has over 700 pages in it. It will come to you via email as a PDF file, so be sure you save the file, and so you'll always have access to it. He left the copyright off the book Letters and Numbers so that you can take it to your local bindery or upload it to lulu.com, what have you, and you can have it bound into a book for your own personal library. Keeping it in the electronic file format is great too, because there's so many pages in the book, so when you're looking for information, it makes it so much easier to find it when you have it in that file format. In his latest book, Number Games, that's the book that I'm reading now, 9/11 to Coronavirus. This book is it is a page turner. I am just I think this is like my third reading today, but this book is available now on Amazon as a pre-order, and you can also get it on Kindle, I believe. But the physical book is on pre-order, and it will be released October 13th. If you don't want to order it from Amazon, you can go directly to Zachary K. Hubbard's blog page, gematriaeffectnews.blogspot.com. The first thing you'll see when you get to that page is the advertising for this book, and as you scroll down, it will tell you how to purchase the book within the United States and within abroad in other countries. So purchase the book, learn what gematria is, and if I didn't state it, gematria is the encoding of numbers within our letters. Our letters are in fact numbers. Every word we speak has a numerical value, and the more you delve into what gematria is, the more clearly you'll see how the code operates. And you can learn that as well by listening to the reading of both of his books. And I'm in chapter 5 in his second book, and I have completed his first book. But there is a wealth of information in his books. Be sure to read the blogs. He blogs every day on gematriaeffectnews.blogspot.com. He also has a previous blog page called freetofindtruth.blogspot.com, and he's been blogging there for over 5 years, so there is a wealth of information there, just a massive amount of content. And with that said, I am going to continue with reading chapter 5 of Number Games 9/11 to Coronavirus. Chapter 5 is entitled Crimson Contagion Pandemic Drills and the New York Times. All right, and I am on page 85. So here we go. Crimson Contagion was a series of pandemic simulations that were carried out by the U.S. federal government in 2019. The New York Times brought these simulations to light in a March 19th, 2020 article days after the coronavirus pandemic had been declared. By focusing on one of the events that took place August 13th through 16th in Chicago. The scenario for the simulation the NYT, New York Times, investigated involved airline travelers who were returning from China to Chicago, Illinois, when they unknowingly started the spread of a virus that became a pandemic. The forecast from the simulation, per the New York Times, who reported on it, was that the virus would infect 110 million people in the United States, leading to 7.7 million hospitalizations and killing 586,000. And when you add 5 plus 8 plus 6 plus 0 plus 0 plus 0, that equates to 19. All right. Never mind that this is the plot of the 2011 film Contagion, or that the cabal went with the numbers 110 and 77 again while encoding 19 in the death toll. Furthermore, the virus used for the simulation was described as a respiratory virus similar to coronavirus or COVID-19. As for the New York Times choosing to focus on the Chicago simulation, the reasoning becomes clear with our gematria lens. Chicago sums to 37 and 46, similar to how virus sums to 37 and 46. And in light of the order out of chaos agenda, don't forget that chaos sums to 46 with simple English, reminding of the killing of 46-year-old George Floyd on the corner of Chicago Avenue in Minneapolis, the city the hero of the film Contagion calls home, not to be confused with Chicago, where his wife cheats on him after returning from China. Wow. For your learning, please also note that virus and chaos share gematria values of 26, 46, and 89 using our 4 base ciphers, confirming that the virus as well as chaos encoding of Chicago is why the New York Times focused on Chicago's Crimson Contagion exercise. The name of the virus from the same drill was H7N9 influenza, summing to 183, the same as Order Out of Chaos and even Pearl Harbor, another event blamed on Asians. Let us not forget, Wuhan coronavirus also equates with Order Out of Chaos. What should give you a laugh, in the Crimson Contagion simulation, per the New York Times, the World Health Organization, established April 7, 1948, emphasis on 47, declares a pandemic on the 47th day of the outbreak. As we know, the number 47 symbolizes time and authority, and if I didn't mention it earlier, the Event 201 simulation that happened not long after October 18, 2019 was on a date with 47 numerology. The findings from the Crimson Contagion simulation were that the United States was not financially prepared or well enough organized to fight a severe pandemic, and that it would cause chaos within federal government ranks, mostly along the lines of what agencies would take on what responsibilities. In the simulation, conflicts occurred between FEMA, HHS, and the Department of Homeland Security, the latter being created in the wake of September 11, 2001, the day Building 7 fell for no good reason, a building standing 47 stories tall. In terms of the timing of the exercise, it began August 13th, exactly 155 days before the first case of coronavirus reportedly landed in the United States, January 15th, 2020. This matters because, in simple English, coronavirus sums to 155, and by this book's end, we'll have a long list of how the number 155 relates to the coronavirus pandemic. They'll include things such as the news on June 3rd, 2020, the 155th day of the year, that George Floyd's autopsy results revealed he had coronavirus at the time of his death, and the former superior general of the Jesuits died May 20th, 2020, 155 days after Pope Francis's birthday, the first Jesuit pope. They'll also include findings such as the Clade X pandemic exercise that took place May 15th or 15/5/155, exactly 666 days before the coronavirus pandemic was declared on March 11, 2020. We'll get to that exercise next chapter. In addition, we'll eventually cover Hulu releasing a new TV show called The Great on May 15, 2020, about Catherine the Great, the Empress of Russia, who once saved the 201 Jesuits not too far off from Event 201, the coronavirus outbreak simulation. We'll even tie in the diagnosing of Nadia the tiger as the first non-human to test positive for coronavirus in a year where International Tiger Day fell on July 29th, 2020. It's crazy. The day leaving 155 days left in the year. And yes, International Tiger Day is a real thing. Okay. Coming back to the start date of August 13th, it can be expressed as 13/8, similar to 138. This matters because federal sums to 138 with reverse simple, and Donald Trump sums to 138 with simple English. Of course, it was his Department of Health and Human Services that carried out the exercise. Furthermore, the name Department of Health and Human Services sums to 151 with Pythagorean, similar to how pandemic sums to 151 with reverse simple. And once again, the date of the first case of coronavirus in the United States, January 15th, can be expressed as 15/1, like 151. When we get to the chapter on big tech, we'll discuss the event named the Great Reset, summing to 151 with simple English, as well as 74 with reverse Pythagorean. It is scheduled for January of 2021 and is being hosted by the World Economic Forum, the same organization that has been planning how to manage the world's financial interests in the time of a pandemic for decades, just as they did at Event 201 with the coronavirus outbreak simulation. And staying true to the order out of chaos formula, the 2021 event is about how to move forward as a people in the world reshaped by coronavirus. Oh my goodness. Never mind that in tarot, the 21st card is the World card, or that Agenda 21 from the 1990s focused on changing the world in a drastic way by 2021, as we'll learn about later. And that event has the same ambitions as the upcoming conference, the Great Reset. And adding insult to injury, the Great Reset for 2021 was announced on June 3rd, 2020, the 155th day of the year. Keep in mind, in light of the Great Reset summing to 151, it is the 36th prime number, and June 3rd can be expressed as 36, similar to 36. Also, 666 is the 36th triangular number, and in Jewish gematria, as we have learned, prophecy sums to 666, what the Kabbalah is fulfilling using the scripture as the script. As we also know, they are led by the Society of Jesus, and that reminds Christianity sums to 155 with simple English, and Jesus Christ sums to 151 with the same cipher. And once again, time as we count it on the Gregorian calendar is aligned with the life of Jesus Christ, where it is counted in terms of before and after Christ. In that breath, let us not forget that Bible, Jesuit, and math all equate to 21, factoring in with the year 2021, emphasis on 2021 and it being in the 21st century. Coming back to the agency responsible for the Crimson Contagion exercise, it is noteworthy that Department of Health and Human Services sums to 182 with reverse Pythagorean, and Year of the Rat sums to 182 with reverse simple. Let me read that one more time. Coming back to the agency responsible for the Crimson Contagion exercise, it is noteworthy that Department of Health and Human Services sums to 182 with reverse Pythagorean, and Year of the Rat sums to 182 with reverse simple. Just wait until we get to the predictive programming chapter and dissect the 2007 film Pandemic, where a virus is brought to the United States from Australia via Flight 182, only to have the CDC scientists board the plane and announce that his name is Ratner. Oh my God. Adding to the joke, the actor's name for Dr. Ratner is French Stewart, a name equating to 191, the same as Society of Jesus. For the record, the Year of the Rat began on January 25th, 2020. Dean Koontz' 201st day of being 74 years old. The man born July 9th, 1945, and the man who authored Eyes of Darkness in 1981, a work of fiction involving details of a secret military operation out of Wuhan, China, to spread a virus. Adding insult to injury, the name of the virus is Wuhan 400, a name that when written out as words, Wuhan 400 sums to 201 with simple English. Plus, what did we learn earlier about Acts 7, 6 through 7? Acts chapter 7, verses 6 through 7, 6 and 7, and 400 years. So what did we learn about Acts 6, 7, and 400 years, and how that ties in with the pandemic? What did we learn? Okay. The name Wuhan 400 as words also sums to 84 and 78, same as Jesuit, and 231, the 21st triangular number, corresponding with the 21st century, and the fact that Jesuit sums to 21 with Pythagorean gematria. In case you're wondering what the Year of the Rat has to do with anything, for one, it is Chinese, and two, rats are known for spreading disease and illness. Regarding to the second reason, it's probably no accident that Microsoft's video game platform released a title in 2019 called A Plague Tale: Innocence, equating to 84, the same as William Henry Gates, the former CEO of Microsoft, where you fight off disease-ridden rats to survive for the entirety of the game. My goodness. Another point that needs to be made about the exercise is that the gematria of the name Crimson Contagion equates to 243 with reverse simple English. This is similar to how Central Intelligence Agency sums to 243 with simple English and coordinates with the fact that coronavirus pandemic began while the United States of America was 243 years old, having turned 243 on July 4th, 2019. As we'll get to in the chapter dedicated to Kobe, his full name, Kobe Bean Bryant, also sums to 243 with reverse simple, and his death is part of the greater coronavirus ritual that again is time-based. In light of the New York Times breaking the news of Crimson Contagion, I want to make a point about the man who was in charge of the paper and its operations at the time of the March 19th article. That was their CEO and president, Mark John Thompson, a Jesuit-educated man having attended Stonyhurst College. Before he was with the New York Times, he was with another media titan, the BBC, summing to 74 with reverse simple English. The number pairing with London and the rest of the world and the rest of the words from the long list we uncovered in chapter 1. As we know, the Jesuits worked by the code, explaining why March 19th, 2020 article, why the March 19th, 2020 article about the 2019 pandemic exercise, Crimson Contagion, was published just 8 days after COVID-19 was declared a pandemic. Keep in mind, 19 is the 8th prime, and March 19th was the day California became the first state to enact stay-at-home orders under the leadership of Gavin Newsom after his 56% scare. March 19th was also the 79th day of the leap year, corresponding with the reverse Pythagorean of Society of Jesus. That again, Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, is a member of. Same with Anthony Fauci, who was on his 79th day of being 79 years old when the pandemic was declared on March 11th. Oh my goodness. Delving deeper into the New York Times and its CEO, the name Mark John Thompson sums to 78 with reverse Pythagorean, the same as the paper. The New York Times, that was established on a date with 78 numerology, September 18th, 1851, the same day the cornerstone was laid for Washington, D.C. in 1793. As you'll recall, that day leaves 104 days left in the year, corresponding with the gematria of Roman Catholic Church. As for the 78 connections to the New York Times, they remind us that the words Jesuit and New York equate to 78 with reverse simple English. Furthermore, if you leave out the word the, and just decode New York Times, you'll notice it sums to 177, not unlike the Jesuit order or New World Order or propaganda. And keep in mind, the New York Times is sold worldwide and is a propaganda publication that actively uses the term conspiracy theorists to describe people who question government and mainstream narratives, including the coronavirus pandemic, 9/11, the moon landing, and the JFK assassination. Regarding the moon landing, it happened on July 20th, 1969, the 201st day of the year. Excuse me. 201st day of the year. In the time of Cancer, the astrology sign that appears as a 69, and reminding that in astrology, the sign of Cancer is ruled by the moon. And regarding JFK, he was a man who was reportedly killed 177 days after his own birthday in the middle of a location named after a newspaper mogul, George Dealey, who was also a member of a secret society, the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. Adding to the list, Kennedy sums to 78, similar to how Jesuit and Scottish Rite equate to 78, along with two fraternities' favorite tactic, order out of chaos. And with regards to Gavin Newsom and order out of chaos, he lit the fire of fear under California and across the nation with his March 18th speech about the coming rapid spread of the deadly virus on the 78th day of 2020. That was when he announced the stay-at-home orders for his state for the following day. And do you know who didn't mind those orders? Jeff Bezos of Amazon and all the big box retailer chief executive officers that were allowed to stay open while mom and pop stores were told to close and stay home and go out of business. My goodness. If not, they were warned they might die otherwise, and if not that, then be fined and jailed and have their business license taken away from them for not following the new health safety protocols. Thus, part of the order that was installed through the new rules of government due to the chaotic coronavirus was more business traffic through corporate giants and almost none through small business. In this breath, it should be noted when CNN wrote about how billionaires had taken $565 billion more of the pie of America's wealth on June 4th, 2020, during the time of the pandemic. They began their measurement date on March 18th, the 78th day of the year, and the article was written precisely 78 days later. This is crazy. Effectively, CNN was publishing the words of the gloating cabal, Richard II, who once again successfully had directed the world's people into its trap with its media weapons. Coming back to the New York Times and JFK, the 78 connections also remind us that John F. Kennedy addressed the American Newspaper Publishers Association April 27, 1961, in New York, speaking about the impact of secret societies on the press as well as the nation, the same quote we examined last chapter, only to end up dying in a plaza named after a newspaper publisher who was in a secret society, and then further having a movie made about it, the Zapruder film by Abraham Zapruder, a name equating to 153 and 72, the same as Jesuit order. Zapruder was also a Scottish Rite Freemason of the 33rd degree. Keep in mind, many Jesuits are Freemasons and not by chance. Freemason sums to 42 with Pythagorean gematria, whereas Jesuit sums to 42 with reverse Pythagorean. At the same time, if you use the Sumerian cipher where you multiply the alphabetic order by 6, G, the seventh letter, becomes 42. And that is the letter in the middle of the Freemason logo, surrounded by the compass and square, instruments of measurement, reminding of how well measured everything is in these rituals that we are exposing. I'm sorry, that's not what how he wrote that. let me reread it. I'm going to just read this paragraph again. At the same time, if you use the Sumerian cipher where you multiply the alphabetic order by 6, G, the seventh letter, becomes 42. And that is the letter in the middle of the Freemason logo, surrounded by the compass and square, instruments of measurement, reminding of how well measured everything is in these rituals that we are exposing. Gotcha. And let us not forget, math sums to 42 with simple English, or Andrew Yang's ritual on the 42nd day of 2020, February 11th. Absolutely. Goodness gracious. Coming back to JFK, another important point about his speech where he touched on secrecy is that he spoke extensively about Fidel Castro, Cuba's Jesuit dictator, from the nation located off the shores of the southeastern United States. Think about that in light of the cabal's order out of chaos mantra, because Castro was a man who was used on nightly news broadcasts as an excuse to pump fear into the hearts of Americans for decades due to the threat of nuclear warfare and annihilation. The media coined this threat at one point as the Cuban Missile crisis, summing to 78 with Pythagorean. The results of this headline-driven skirmish were financial excuses to pump untold amounts of dollars into military activities that we'll likely never know the extent of, and wage wars against communism as we did in Vietnam, summing to 84 and 42, the same as Jesuit, and elsewhere as we did more quietly with guerrilla tactics. And for the record, the Cuban Missile Crisis began October 16, 1962, the day leaving 76 days left in the year, corresponding with the gematria of Castro, equating to 76 with simple English. It serves as a reminder. All Jesuit rituals are executed by the code, and when you recognize the code, it brings new meaning to popular phrases such as the theater of war. Theater of war, absolutely. Theater. As you can now understand, with the knowledge of gematria, you can identify who are the puppets, people such as Castro and JFK, and who are the puppeteers, the Jesuits, and other powerful secret societies that fall under their umbrella, including the Scottish Rite and Knights Templar, as well as Knights of Malta, all of whom serve the Catholic Church. You can also better appreciate the saying, "The world is a stage," while knowing who directs the performance. And for anyone who might be upset by me calling John F. Kennedy a puppet, don't let the drama take you. All good theater needs heroes and villains, and through the story of the Kennedy brothers, their outspoken words and their untimely assassinations, both in perfect numerical rituals that only could have transpired with the properly named actors, an entire generation learned to tuck their heads like turtles and steer clear of going against authority. That was a mouthful, and I want to make sure I got to reread that so that I can understand it again. Now, let's go, Zach, because that was a long one. You didn't hardly have a break there. Let me see. As you can now understand, with the knowledge of gematria, you can identify who are the puppets, such as Castro and JFK, who are the puppeteers, the Jesuits, and other powerful secret societies that fall under their umbrella, including the Scottish Rite and Knights Templar, as well as the Knights of Malta, all of whom serve the Catholic Church. Okay. You can also better appreciate the saying, "The world is a stage," absolutely, while knowing who directs the performance. And for anyone who might be upset by me calling John F. Kennedy a puppet, don't let the drama take you. All good theater needs heroes and villains, and through the story of the Kennedy brothers, their outspoken words and their untimely assassinations, both in perfect numerical rituals that only could have transpired with the properly named actors, an entire generation learned to tuck their heads like turtles and steer clear of going against authority. Okay, I got you now. It's all part of how we've arrived at where we are in 2020, with people handing over their rights, obeying the commands of Big Brother, and strapping a mask across their face, a sign of the silenced, with very little evidence there is any threat of a killer virus other than one that threatens the elderly, specifically those with pre-existing health problems, something that is also true of the seasonal flu and pneumonia. Absolutely. For another point on John F. Kennedy that will connect with what we're living out today, his most odd speech was at the site of the Berlin Wall on June 26, 1963, or 26/6, not unlike 266, the cherished number by the Jesuits that you just learned about regarding Pope Francis the 266th Pope, the first Jesuit. It was titled Ich bin ein Berliner. So ICHBINEINBERLINER. Okay? And was about the recently built Berlin Wall being a symbol of division. Of course, that wall would eventually fall on November 9th, 1989, another 11/9 or 9/11 date. Not by accident. 56 years after the inauguration of JFK on January 20th, 2017, or 20/1 like 201, Donald Trump, Mr. Wall, was compared to JFK. Oh my God. This was because Donald's wife Melania was the first to wear baby blue for a presidential inauguration since Jacqueline Kennedy in 1961. Keep in mind, shortly before the inauguration, Donald Trump had become the 45th president-elect on the anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall, November 9th, 2016. After the election was called in his favor in the early hours of the day, and understand it was not an accident that the election was called after November 8th, the voting date. It was a ritual, and it was because Berlin Wall sums to 45 with Pythagorean and 63 with reverse Pythagorean. Regarding the latter number, 2016 is the 63rd triangular number, and it connects us back to the year of JFK's demise. That is just, oh my gosh. Consider the duality as well as the mockery since Donald Trump ran on building walls, going against what JFK was preaching in the 1960s, and what Pope Francis, the 266th Pope, the first Jesuit, is speaking today. Again, JFK's speech at the wall was June 26, 1963, 149 days before his assassination, the 35th prime number, bringing an end to the 35th president, who had a May 29th birthday, the 149th day of the year, and who defeated Richard Nixon in the 1960 election on Richard Nixon's 305th day of his age. Should I add Zapruder film sums to 149 with simple English, the title of the footage that recorded his death? Once again, Catholic sums to 35 with Pythagorean, and JFK is the only Catholic president of the United States to date. This is likely due to the fact that if presidents were Catholic, as often as they are Supreme Court justices and politicians, people might catch on to the scheme. Well, I don't know. Joe Biden, he's a Catholic. He might. It doesn't matter who wins the presidency. They're coded with the numbers that are perfect for them to run. As a matter of fact, anything that you can vote on, no, anything that you can bet on has a predetermined outcome already. And you can you can make a financial bet on who's going to be president. And I believe at one point Donald Trump was a plus 138. The name Donald Trump equates to 138. Joe Biden, and I believe the presidential election is 46 days after the Pope's birthday. Joe Biden, if he wins, will be the 46th president. He lost his son not too long ago at the age of 46. You know, it's just, this stuff is just a crazy game. And not to mention that Kamala equates to 42. This is the 59th presidential election. Negro equals 59. So This stuff is so sick. It is just so sick, and it's a waste of people's time. Oh my goodness. Anyway, moving on. Let me get back to the reading here. Okay. Once again, Catholic sums to 35 with Pythagorean, and JFK is the only Catholic president of the United States to date. This is likely due to the fact that if presidents were Catholic as often as they are Supreme Court justices and politicians, people might catch on to the scheme. Yeah, that's awesome. I reread that again. For more vital information regarding the November 9th, 2016 announcement, the name Donald in Jewish gematria sums to 119, similar to how the date is expressed 11/9. And better than that, if you look into Donald Trump's television commercial history, you'll find that he did an ad for Serta mattresses years before he ran for president about counting sheep, what they do on voting day. Count sheep. That's right. A dumb sheep. I used to vote. I'm so glad I don't anymore. Oh my God. Not by chance. Serta sums to 63 with simple English. And again, 2016 is the 63rd triangular number. In that commercial, he talks to two digital sheep in the hallway of a hotel he owns, and each of the sheep are standing on pillars with numbers on their side. In the rear, you can see the sheep is numbered. In the rear, you can see the sheep is numbered 11, and the other in the front is numbered 9. Part of the ad's dialogue is being born for something you were supposed to do. Could they have been referencing the predetermined presidency of Donald Trump? If you doubt it, consider Donald Trump's last words for the ad are, "Looking good, number 9, looking good." And the number 45 is the 9th triangular number, and 2016 was a 9-year, I'm sorry. I messed that up. Let me see. He says, looking good, number 9, looking good. And the number 45 is the 9th triangular number. And 2016 was a 9-year. So when you add 2 plus 0 plus 1 plus 6, that equates to 9 in numerology. Okay. As for the name Trump, it is the newer surname of the family that was named Drumpf, Drumpf, just generations ago. What's funny about the newer name, Trump, is that it relates to tarot cards, where the numerology originates. Trump card. Wow. With this in mind, please note that tarot cards equate to 119 with simple English. And better yet, at the time Donald Trump was elected, there was a hit TV show about the White House and presidency titled House of Cards. In that show, the president was played by Kevin Spacey, who was accused of sexual assault. At the same time, Donald Trump was accused of the same misconduct, and his character was named President Francis Underwood, and he won election in the year 2016. As well. With gematria, this becomes more fascinating because Francis sums to 119 with reverse simple English, the name of the Pope, and Underwood sums to 119 with simple English. If you want to test your skills, the show is full of gematria, and you'll understand why there is an assassination attempt on the president in season 4, episode 4, along with many other related things. In that breath, it is worth remembering that despite Donald Trump being the 45th president in number, he is only the 44th person to be president because of Grover Cleveland, who had a split term, messing up the count ever since. If that's news to you, look it up. Grover Cleveland is counted as the 22nd and 24th U.S. President. And for one last point, the name Francis Underwood sums to 243 with reverse simple English, similar to Central Intelligence Agency, and reminding us that at the time of the pandemic, a few years after Anthony Fauci said Donald Trump would face a surprise outbreak in his pandemic preparedness remarks, the United States of America was 243 years old. Of course, that also corresponds with the gematria of Crimson Contagion, the simulation that was in sync with coronavirus showing up in Seattle, Washington, in the United States of America. Because we discussed the number 78 extensively in it, I want to educate about the 78th verse of the opening book of the Bible, Genesis 3:22, a number that should remind you of Yale's Skull and Bones, a secret society that identifies by the number 322. Using simple English gematria, Genesis sums to 78, and there is something extremely fascinating about this verse, the one about knowing good and evil. It is the fact that the number 322 is encoded into Genesis 3:22, Genesis chapter 3 verse 22, using reverse Pythagorean for both the King James Version and the New International Version, NIV. Despite different wording being used for each, please read the encoded sections of Genesis 3:22, where the first word and through the last word evil equate to 322 for both. Okay? Genesis 3:22, Genesis 3:22, NIV. The 22nd verse. And the Lord God said, the man has now become like one of us, knowing good and evil. Genesis 3:22, KJV. Verse 22, okay? And the Lord God said, behold, the man is become as one of us to know good and evil. And they both sum to 322. And that's something. The number 322 gains greater significance when you decode Abrahamic religions, summing to 322 with reverse simple English. If you are not familiar with the Abrahamic religions, they are Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, and all three religions are based out of the Torah that begins with Genesis, the first book of the Bible. Keep in mind, Abrahamic alone sums to 187 with reverse simple, the same as Society of Jesus. This becomes all the more interesting when you realize that the Torah is 187 chapters long. Furthermore, ancient mystery religions also sums to 322 with reverse simple, and those are the ancient spiritual knowledges that include Hermeticism, Kundalini, alchemy, and of course Kabbalah, that gematria is related to. And with that in mind, let us read the entirety of Genesis 3 verse 22. Okay? 22. And the Lord God said, that man has now become like one of us, knowing good and evil. He must not be allowed to reach out his hand and take also from the tree of life and eat and live forever. After reading the verse, please notice the mention of the tree of life. It is important to know that the physical model for Kabbalah is called the tree of life as well. This is part of the Bible. This part of the Bible comes just after the serpent tricks Adam and Eve into eating from the tree that they were forbidden to eat from by the Lord God. It also comes from the verse, it also comes the verse before being kicked out of the Garden of Eden by Lord God. With regards to Kabbalah, there are two sides to the tree of life. One is about light and spiritual ascension, thus it is good, and the other is about understanding darkness, or what is evil. It is the evil side of the tree of life that the Cabal uses for their sorcery, and it is known as Cliphoth. Cliphoth. I'm sorry. Cliphoth. Cliphoth. And I'm sure I'm butchering that word, but I'll move it right along here. And if you can believe it, the word Cliphoth has reverse Sumerian gematria of 666, the same as Genesis, a number we still have much to learn about. Oh my goodness. For another familiar number, the name Tree of Life, Psalms 256 with Pythagorean, and the phrase from Genesis 3:22, knowing good and evil, Psalms 2:201 with simple English. As we have learned, these are numbers corresponding with the Society of Jesus, summing to 56 in Pythagorean, and the Jesuit order, summing to 201 in reverse simple English, who were founded by Ignatius of Loyola, summing to 201 with simple English, the same as Jorge Mario Bergoglio, the birth name of Pope Francis, the first Jesuit pope, and the first to live in Suite 201, adding to the list. The Holy Bible sums to 201 with reverse simple English, and it is because of this one verse in the 1,189 chapters of the Bible that these numbers have been chosen. This is because it is the verse that explains what it is all about, knowing good and evil. Ultimately, that is the groundwork for all spiritual teachings, knowing what is good and what isn't, and how to behave accordingly. Unfortunately for us, the cabal is going to make us choose between good and evil, to take the mark of the beast or not, as we'll get to in the chapter on the big tech takeover. As mad as it is, this is how the numbers are chosen and used in the gematria-based rituals that become the foundational encoding of the propaganda that is broadcast in the mainstream to program the masses. Case in point, the United States people began to be locked down by the governors of the nation in clumps on March 22nd, 2020. Emphasis on 322. With New York leading the way. I'll remind you that in the hit TV series Batman, in the 33rd episode, it is revealed that Batman's family legacy includes the creation of Skull and Bones, and New York is the city Batman is set in, only it is known as Gotham City, summing to 149, just like Skull and Bones. While we're at it, in the film Enemy of the State, also set in New York, when Will Smith's character checks his watch at 1 hour and 49 minutes into the film, it shows the time on the screen as none other than 3:22. If you haven't seen Enemy of the State, it's about the government's surveillance state that is used to keep tabs on the populace. It released just before 9/11 and was predictive programming for the Patriot Act, plus more. I highly suggest you watch it for the sake of becoming aware of how we are teased with the truth in the world of Hollywood and mainstream media. And that used to be one of my favorite movies. Oh my God, now I gotta rewatch it just to see how it was made a fool of. But hey, I'm awake now. Oh my God, this is a BS. For another example of how the numbers encoded in the Bible become the numbers encoded in the fabric of the details that make up mainstream propaganda we are bombarded with, think of the coronavirus image you keep seeing being shown in the mainstream media with the red triangles all over it. It was illustrated by two people having name gematria values of 201 and 56. One was the lead illustrator Alyssa Eckert, Alyssaeckert, Alyssa Eckert, having a name summing to 201 and 84 in the same cipher as the Jesuit order, and the other was Dan Higgins, Higgins, Dan Higgins, summing to 56 in Pythagorean, same as coronavirus and Society of Jesus. And to tie in the 78 piece, for the 78th verse of Genesis, let us not forget Event 201. The coronavirus outbreak simulation was hosted in New York, a state having gematria values of 78 and 666, the same as Genesis. Then for another, the virus was named Wuhan coronavirus, summing to 78 in Pythagorean. On the subject of 78, let us not forget the 78 cards of a tarot deck, or that 22 of those cards are trump cards, because at this moment we are being trumped as well as trounced by the cabal. I'm sorry about that, and this is sad. You gotta laugh to keep from crying, but Zach, I like the way you write. On the subject of 78, let us not forget the 78 cards of a tarot deck, or that 22 of those cards are trump cards, because at this moment we are being trumped as well as trounced by the cabal in the time of their puppet Donald Trump. And strangely enough, the 22nd card in a tarot deck is the Fool, and all of these men turned 22 years old in 1968, the infamous year we dissected in Chapter 2. They were Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, and Donald Trump, the latter of which is playing the fool during the time of Wuhan coronavirus, where coronavirus was coined in 1968, and Wuhan sums to 22 with Pythagorean gematria, and 2020, the year of the outbreak, incorporates the same key digits, 22. Oh my God. And on the subject of 22, please also recall it is named the Master Builder number, and in Pythagorean gematria, master equates to 22, the same as Wuhan. Furthermore, if you pair the Master Builder concept with the year 68, when Donald Trump was 22, and the fact that mathematics has gematria of 68, as does Donald John Trump, you can begin to understand the riddle of his legacy, from the buildings in his name, Trump, to the virus he is said to be dropping the ball on, causing the United States to lead the world in supposed coronavirus deaths. And please keep in mind, Donald Trump is indebted to the international cabal due to the numerous bailouts he has received in his business career that have been given to him by this same group. And for all the QAnon types out there, please know that QAnon, Q-A-N-O-N, sums to 201 with Jewish gematria and 74 with reverse simple, hallmarks of the Jesuits. Beyond that, it equates to 25 with Pythagorean, the same as Trump and Vatican. Furthermore, the Anon part of QAnon is short for Anonymous, an organization that takes its symbolism from Guy Fawkes, the Jesuit, who was part of the same society that was eventually saved with the 201 Jesuits who were protected by Catherine the Great. Thus, if you have been taken by Q, you have been taken by controlled opposition, and more specifically, the enemy. So I sincerely hope this book is opening your eyes to the truth of the matter. For one last point on Crimson Contagion and the Jesuit-backed New York Times calling attention to the Chicago simulation, let us not forget that it took place in the time of the 56th mayor of Chicago, Lori Lightfoot, a name equating to 68, the same as Barack Obama, the latter being the man who won the 56th U.S. presidential election in Chicago, and who, like Lightfoot, has an August 4th birthday, emphasis on 8-4, and never mind that Obama defeated John McCain in the election, the U.S. Senator from Arizona, the state equating to 84 and 42 in the same ciphers as Jesuit. Furthermore, from the day Lori Lightfoot took office as mayor of Chicago, May 20th, 2019, to the day Crimson Contagion concluded, August 16, 2019, was her 89th day in office, corresponding with the gematria of both virus and chaos. Again, as we have covered earlier, Lightfoot requested $56 million to contract trace the people of her city the same day chaos was breaking out in her city and elsewhere due to the viral video showing the killing of George Floyd on the corner of Chicago Avenue. That was May 26, 2020, a date with 71 numerology corresponding with the gematria of Catholic and a span of 71 days from her upcoming 58th birthday, or otherwise said 70 days before her birthday, the latter number corresponding with Vatican and Francis, as well as coronavirus, which again sums to 56 and 70. And that is the end of chapter 5. And man, Zach, you have done an awesome job at writing this book. And man, I probably will end up reading chapter 6, because this book is, oh my God, it's just a page turner. So please support this work of Zachary K. Hubbards. Get the books for yourself. Visit his blog page, gematria-effect-news.blogspot.com. Purchase the book, Number Games 9/11 to Coronavirus. Purchase the book. Visit his YouTube channels, Gematria Effect News or Gematria Effect Sports. And in the description of each of his videos, he leaves the link for the book, Letters and Numbers. Purchase the book. Read the book. Understand the book. Listen to his videos. This information needs to go forward. Everyone needs to know this information. And I just can't thank Zach enough for writing this book. And I have it in my hands. I can read it, and we just need enough people to wake up to the tyranny that is in this world. You know, a lot of us have been knowing what's going on for a long time, but now we know how they're doing it. They're doing it by this code. So with that said, you guys have a good evening, and I will be back soon with chapter 6. And have a good evening.